I get a feeling there's going to be a riot.
I don't read the newspapers because they all have ugly prints.
All right, guys, welcome to another exciting episode of Tinfoil Hat. You know, your feedback right now has been amazing. We're very thankful. I mean, I've never seen a show where all the feedback on whether it's on SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, is all really super positive. Very thankful for that. Very thankful for the interaction you guys have. You know, this podcast is much yours as it is mine. And if you guys have suggestions for guests and all that stuff, I'm so blessed you guys enjoy the whole thing. Joining me is one of the most off-the-grid motherfuckers I know. This guy is so off the grid, but he is a big part of the show because he does all the research. Please welcome Ryan Davis, everybody.
Hey, how you doing, Sam? Good to see you, man.
Good to see you, too. You guys might, if you're listening to audio, you might not know this, but if you're watching on YouTube, and the show is available on YouTube, just go to youtube.com/Sam Tripoli. You'll find it. These are the notes. He has freaking scrolls. He busts his ass, and he does scroll. He does
Papyrus.
old papyrus, you know? It's and he comes with a trumpet, and before the show, he goes... So I'm very thankful, and today's a great day because it's a big day in Ryan's life because Ryan's learning how to use a computer. Yeah.
Hey-o.
Let's get Yale. So before we get into the whole thing, and I want to ask him about today, too, because today's a big day, too, just in the world of conspiracies. Joining us via the power of Skype is one of the best that does it. I'm always excited, not only when he's on the show, but when I get to hang out with him, because he's just a walking encyclopedia of conspiracy theory knowledge. I'm gonna let him give his own intro because he's known for his intros. So, got an intro for us, buddy?
I do. Folks, Greg Carlwood from the Higher Side Chats here, and we may not think about it every day, but the crushing realization that we spend each moment moving closer to our inevitable death is a thought you can't avoid for long. But who really knows what to expect when we all find ourselves born into a world without memory from what came before and no instruction manual for what comes next? Is life truly just a practice run for the man in the clouds to judge our morality and determine which realm we'll spend eternity in? Is it just one of our many incarnations in a quest to reach enlightenment and ascend to a higher plane? Or are we just recycled souls stuck in an Archon energy farm doomed to the prison planet and the nefarious death trap our engineers set up from the beginning? Well, whether you're an atheist, an animist, or God forbid a follower of the snake oil salesman at the Vatican, at the end of the day, we have to admit it's just a guess. And that might be the scariest thing of all. Lucky for you people, today on Tinfoil Hat, the great Sam Tripoli, Ryan, and myself will help you navigate the possibilities, and I'd be surprised if we don't just figure out the whole damn thing right here. Sam, my man, how the hell are you?
Doing well. Welcome to the show, Tinfoil Hat, from Higher Side Chats, the premier podcast in conspiracy theories. Great Carlwood, everybody. Welcome.
Boom.
Yay. That was great. I would love to Aaron, honestly, you've been podcasting with me for a couple years. How long do you think that intro would take for me to not only write, but get every word in that correct?
It would never happen.
You're saying it would never happen. Greg, thanks for coming in and doing the show. Now, we were going to have you in
Yes.
in the studio, but life happened and you have to do it via Skype. So I'm still appreciative that you took some time to come on the show, bud.
Hell yeah. Glad to be here, man.
You got to come out to the live show I did last week at the La Jolla Comedy Store, and you got to watch me yell at 35 people. Thanks for...
You crushed it.
Thank you, dude.
That's what you're known for.
Yeah. Well, you know, if you say it enough on stage, people start believing it. That's what I've learned. If you say how hard you're crushing, people start believe you're crushing. Greg, today was a crazy day in the world. Before we get into the afterlife, which is something we want to talk about on the podcast today, today was I just kind of briefly want to talk about April 26th. Today was a big day in conspiracy theories. the world of conspiracy theories. Everybody was kind of freaking out what was going on with Trump. And real quick, in September, on the emergency broadcasting signal on the radio, a crazy, just this weird kind of thing came out, just going, Trump, April 26th, Trump, April 26th. Trump. So people started freaking out when not only did he get elected, but here we are on April 26th. They didn't know what was going on. Any thoughts on that, Greg?
Well, I do think that was really interesting because, yeah, it was something that was up there before he was elected. So that alone is pretty cryptic. And also there was another message, if I'm not mistaken, that said something like, could you on a train? And that coincided with some train bombing or something. I'm just now like getting into this stuff. But yeah, this day people thought was going to be something big because we got the North Korea stuff happening. The Moab got dropped. We got the Syria airstrike that happened not long ago. So, I mean, tensions are high. And there's definitely a lot of people who thought 426 would be something. But we're pretty deep into the day.
Thank God.
Yeah, we seem to be doing all right. But I guess one of the big theories was that it would be something related to nuclear because the Chernobyl meltdown happened on this day in the past. And there are actually quite a few things involving nuclear tests and stuff that did coincide with this day. So it might have something to do with that secret occult religion the elite are always worrying about and their numerology. There's always something weird going on with that stuff.
There's also the discussion of that there were not just one but two military drills going on in the United States. One was called Operation Gotham Shield, which was supposed to be a big test run or drill for emergency responses in case a nuclear bomb had dropped. And then there was also one, I don't know if it ever got an official name, but FEMA was going to be running one in the Washington, D.C. area simultaneously. And that really freaks a lot of, in particular, the conspiracy theory community, because there's always this belief that when some kind of tragic event happens, mysteriously and amazingly, there's a military drill going on at that time. Yes. Sandy Hook, even 9/11, the San Bernardino shooting, the original one with the quote-unquote the Islamic couple went crazy on everybody. During each one of those, there was a military drill going on. Even with the Aurora shooting, there was some kind of drill or some kind of project that was running at that time. So people started getting pretty freaked out.
Right. I mean, at Sandy Hook, they said there were, I think, 2 or 3 shooters, and they saw guys running through the woods. But then this had nothing to do with when the story was all said and done and the dust had settled and they straightened out their narrative. That had nothing to do with it. And so it is weird. But yeah, the drill going on apparently in New York City is supposed to simulate a 10 kiloton nuclear blast. And also, there's another one in D.C. And just like 9/11, there were so many people out on drills that there's actually recordings of people in fighter pilots saying like, wait, are you telling me this is actually happening or is this the drill we're doing? Like, I'm not, like, they were so confused, and it creates that ambiguity. And there was a lot of concern that would be what's happening today. But
Sandy Hook was a lot like San Bernardino in the fact that, I've said it before in this podcast, I've watched the story change. We live in L.A. It was part of our local news, and the story started with 3 white guys in black military fatigue walked up and started shooting everybody, and then the story changed, and I watched it happen in real time to this Islamic guy at the office hated everybody, and then him and his wife, who just had a baby 3 months ago, decided to shoot up everybody, and it was just like kind of creepy. Now, what also is freaking everybody out is like why these military drills were going on, if they even did go on, is that Trump had called in everybody from the Senate and the entire State Department to come in, and he was going to brief them on North Korea. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of freaking everybody out too, that this would be the day that World War III officially kicked off. Like it's like Lollapalooza or some shit like that.
Yeah, I mean, those are the concerns. Tensions are so high, and I really don't get why they have to be. We're really pushing a lot of buttons, and I mean, most people want peace, but it's just a few people at the top who keep us in a perpetual cycle of war. And we also know that there's a lot of people predicting that the economy is primed for a crash between now and 2020. And if that's the case, of course we're going to go to war, because what boosts our economy better than killing some kids?
Does it still though? I mean, like back in the day, it built. I mean, look at us. We've been in a 20-year war almost. We've had a weird economy. Like back in the day when stuff was built here, made here, the factories were here. It helped the economy. Everybody made money because everybody's getting hired. Does that still happen as much?
Yeah, the business of America used to be business.
Yeah.
Now the business of America is importing our culture and exporting terrorism and drugs. I mean, let's just get down to it. Pharmaceutical companies, that's what we're known for.
Yeah. You were talking
And people manning cash registers until the robots take over.
Until the robots take over. I'm like, it's almost like, I was talking about this to somebody, it's almost like every 80s movie is coming true right now.
Red Dawn.
The Russians, the Terminators, the aliens, it's all going to be like just this orgy of sci-fi going on at one time.
Mad Max.
Doesn't sound so
eventually.
bad when you put it that way.
Yeah. If you throw orgy in anything, it sounds a whole lot better, right, Aaron? Is that what they say in the Midwest, Aaron?
Yeah, particularly orgy of stuffed crust pizza.
I recall that.
Aaron loves his stuffed crust pizza. Aaron, were you concerned about April 26th? I know, like, you're really getting into this conspiracy theory stuff.
No. The
At
only
all?
thing I would like to have happened this week is for the Armenian genocide to be recognized globally.
Yeah, which with Turkey being an ally, that will never happen.
Yeah.
It's really crazy. Again, I love everybody in Israel. I have, Israel's no different than America. There's Israelis, there's the average Joe and Schmo, and then there's the deep state, and they're two totally different things. And criticizing one doesn't make you anti-Semitic. Not like a Netanyahu is ridiculous. It doesn't make you anti-Semitic. That's like saying if you don't like Dick Cheney, you don't like America. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Agreed.
And Israel doesn't want to recognize the Armenian genocide because it's one of the few countries out there that still support them.
Yeah, it seems so arbitrary to not recognize something that clearly happened. Like, what are you doing? Just admit it. You didn't do it.
This country makes business decisions constantly. And it's like, even when it's not in the best interest of people, they make business decisions. And it's just really sad. And then I want to get in our subject because I know people go crazy on this podcast if we don't stick to one subject, but there's so much crazy stuff going on. Did you see the story where ISIS apologized to Israel for attacking them?
No, I did not.
That is insane to me. That notion to me is nuts. The ramifications or the implications of that is mind-blowing to me.
It depends on who ISIS really is. I mean, a lot of people are skeptical because ISIS showed up on the scene with all this premium weaponry, these brand new Toyota trucks. They came in with a big convoy, and it's like, who's funding this? Because it popped up overnight. And so a lot of people think the deep state of Israel and America are in cahoots together. So if that's true, and ISIS is...
Do you not think that? Do you not think that...
I think it's likely, yeah.
I think it's very likely.
Definitely.
It's the U.S., Israel, England, M16, right? Or that's what
the
they're
British
called.
Crown.
Yeah.
That would explain why ISIS offered that kind of apology, because maybe they, got their... They forgot to dot their I's and cross their T's.
Don't want to bite the hand that feeds you.
You never had an older brother that when he was punching you in the face, he said, "Why are you punching yourself?"
Yeah.
You never had to be apologize.
Yeah.
Like a little drop spit was about to go in your eye.
So good. That's a great analogy, dude. That's totally true. So today's episode is pretty dear to me in the fact that my girlfriend Dana, who I've been with for a very long time, don't ask me why we haven't been married. I don't want to get into it. Okay. This is her sister is dealing with terminal cancer, and if you listened to Punch Drunk yesterday, I was pretty much off my game because I thought we were gonna have to say goodbye to somebody that we love. Turned out she just was dehydrated and everything was okay, thank God. But when you know somebody that you've had a relationship with for a long time, that you know them, and that there is a set date or a set guesstimation date, it makes you wonder about death and the other side and what happens on the other side. And I've always wondered about that. I always wonder. I remember when I first moved to Los Angeles, I lived in this on Melrose in this apartment with a bunch of young people, but there was one older woman, and she had gotten breast cancer, and they told her it was terminal. And I just always, such a weird thing you want to do, but I always just want to interview them about their thoughts and their feelings, and like are they scared? Are they? Is it frightening to them that it's coming to it? And she lived a very long life, and she was a wonderful person. And I never got a chance because it happened so quickly. She was gone. Her family got her out of there, and I never had a real conversation. But do you guys ever think about that? Like, what is on the other side, and do you fear what's on the other side?
I absolutely think about it. I mean, about 7 years ago, there was a day where I woke up an atheist, as usual. I was an atheist for a long time. And by the time that day was over, I was completely convinced there was something on the other side, because I took salvia and I expected nothing to happen. I was with some friends who wanted to try it because they were came out from the Midwest. And man, it took me there, man. My consciousness was completely out of body, completely detached, and it felt supernatural too, which is so weird. Is I was like, oh, wow, I'm not really frightened by this, because this happens all the time, even though I don't really remember it happening. And I met entities there. I communicated with them. I came back, and I was like, no, there's something out there. The materialist paradigm was shattered and could never be repaired after that day.
Ryan, do you fear death? Do you fear? I mean, I don't think anyone wants to die, but do you fear what happens to you on the other side?
I've seen death firsthand. I had a family member who died of cancer as well, and I got to be there towards the end of her life. And it's interesting. People get to a state where they accept things and they accept their fate. And me personally, I had a cancer diagnosis earlier this year. I had some melanoma cancer that I get checked out and taken out of me, and it was a relief. It was a relief because we're so fragile. We never think about mortality until we're faced with it. And we're just a split second away from either getting ran over by a big rig or just,
I saw some guy get hit today. He survived it, but man, it was like boom, that could have been it for him.
Jesus.
I think for a lot of people, the first taste of mortality is the death of your grandparents. And when they are no longer this loving thing, nobody loves you more than your grandparents. As much as your parents love you, and they love you, but they gotta discipline you. They gotta do. Grandparents' love is just pure love. It's just like, because you eventually leave them, they get to go back home, and they don't have to deal with all the shit anymore. But for the most part, it's like they really love you. And when the first one passes away, that is a shock that there is an end to this.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was in high school or in elementary school, my teacher goes, I don't even know why he would say this, but he's like, everybody in this room will eventually die. And just, and just like, he just was like, and the class is like, huh?
He's sick of the debt. He's sick of his goddamn job. He's just pissed off. And he comes into these kids and just drops some dark knowledge.
He used to love the shattered dreams, this guy. Like, one time he told everybody in our class that nobody here would ever play in a D1 sport in college. Like, at my age, and he was older than me, he's in his 50s. At this age, I go, why would you ever say that to children? It makes no sense at all. It turns out like three of us, not me at all, I wasn't athletic. I was like most improved on my high school bowling team. That was about it. But three of us went to play D1 from just my class. So, it turns out that wasn't true. So I think about this all the time. What is the afterlife? First of all, I want to get into when you die, when you pass away.
Well, it was interesting you mentioned the acceptance that happens towards the end, because a phrase I heard recently is, you're once the man, twice the child. And I don't know where it comes from, but I think that's pretty profound, in that you're your life really is kind of like a big bell curve. And as you start to exit, you start to forget things. You start to need to be taken care of like a child. You kind of regress back to that form. And it's interesting because if you think of that as a cycle, maybe there's just this part of the cycle that we can't see from this side of reality. And once we get into it, then it seems familiar. And then we probably, I think now that we come back, I'm a reincarnation guy. I think that's where I'd put my money on.
I'm assimilated into the atmosphere, but we'll get into that. 21 grams. What is 21 grams, Ryan? And we were kind of talking about this. It's like there was the movie 21 grams, but it's really about your weight when you're alive versus when you're dead. And when you pass away, there's the theory, or I guess it's been proven, that you weigh 21 grams less dead than you do alive.
There was a scientist, I think it was in the 40s. This is tinfoil hat. We don't do a lot of researching. We're just going to go with it. Let you guys comment in the YouTube that we were wrong, because that's what you're going to do. But I think it was in the 40s. And basically 3/4 of an ounce, 21 grams or so, is what the soul weighs, because he had this bed, and as people would die, as soon as they flatlined, they no longer were there, they weighed 21 grams less. And so he did the same tests with animals, particularly dogs, and they didn't weigh any difference. So I hate to break it to all you animal lovers, your dog doesn't have a soul.
Oh,
he didn't do it with cats,
me.
so maybe cat lovers,
Cats too? Cats don't have souls?
We'll
get into the whole animal stuff, but so that means there is something there, your life force, your soul, or whatever. And the question is, where does that energy go?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Greg? What's your take on this?
Well, it's really hard to kind of think of a non-material space and where it would, quote unquote, be. I think it's right here. We just can't see it. It's hard to really say that, but I can't imagine like the soul really going through much of a travel process to get to some other location. Like that's materialist thinking. That's like our reality-based thinking. Yeah, I think it's probably here.
I 100% believe that your soul gets reassimilated reabsorbed into the energy until you get born again. Mm-hmm. And that there's this whole theory that you go into the light, and that light is another vagina opening.
Well, yeah. That's, I know we were going to talk about the Tibetan Book of the Dead, but that's the 3 levels of the Bardo, which is like the spirit world for them. That's what it is. Some people say there's 6 levels, but as far as I've heard, there's 3. There's the white light, and then you meet some peaceful deities or some guides, which, people always say they meet their ancestors or something. And then the 3rd level is you choose that next life, and the journey ends as it began with a long tunnel of white light, and you go into the womb.
I love it. So let's get into this real quick. There's a couple different types of afterlife. There is, we'll get into all these. There's heaven, there's hell, there's purgatory, and there's reincarnation. All right? Heaven is obviously what we've all thought about. We've been taught you're a good person. You go to the pearly gates, and St. Peter's there, and he's got his iPad out. He's got all your good stuff and your bad stuff, and they discuss whether you're a good person or you're a bad person. And then you go to, and if you're good, you get into heaven. Now, there's different kinds of heaven. There's what were you telling me? There was the Viking heaven.
So the Norse mythology, the Vikings believed in Valhalla. That's if you had a warrior death where he died on the battlefield. And Valhalla was a mead hall in the sky where the mead flowed forever and meat kept on coming. And they could battle one another, and you regenerated a limb if it was chopped off.
It's basically a video game.
And nowadays, that's just the party after the after party.
Well, I completely believe in if you believe in heaven, my version would be a giant party.
It'd have to be.
It's got to be like the whole theory between heaven was that it was this carrot that dangled in front of you, that if you didn't follow the rules, if you followed the rules, you got to go up here. And then I got to think it's like you go up there and it's just like, go fucking nuts, dude, right?
Oh, yeah. Like a 90s,
right, that's
like,
conspiracy 101. Like waking up to that fact. I told that story about the drug thing, saying I was an atheist that day. That's because I grew up Catholic, and then That was the first thing I saw through, is that it was a big control mechanism, like you say, a carrot on the end of the stick to get you to behave a certain way, and of course give your money to the church.
Give your money to the church, put out more little Christian soldiers. Like there's a reason why every sex act besides, blasting inside your old lady is a sin, right?
Yeah, it's a numbers game for these religions, these big three that are fighting it out through the centuries. It's a big numbers game, and so that's why they're against putting a condom on, is because they don't care if you are crippled with debt. They just want more Christians, more Catholics, more Muslims, whatever it is.
To fight their wars and, to give them money, fight their wars, do their bidding. So it's obvious that this is why they don't like gay sex or masturbation or anal. It's like, because those don't produce more ATM machines that will fight your wars.
Yeah.
Of
course, yeah. And unless it's an anal with an altar boy, then they're okay with it.
Which is crazy, right? Which is so interesting. And so much of the rules, and this is today, even like, I'm a liberal, dude. I'm a liberal guy. I believe in liberal cause. I believe that most of, whether it's, you always hear people say, I'm socially liberal, but I'm politically conservative or some crazy or business conservative.
Yeah.
I think all conservative shit is bullshit. I just do. Trickle down, free trade, all that. Even though that was brought on by the Clintons, it's still a more of a conservative thing. I think it's all bullshit. The social stuff, if you're gay, interracial dating. Remember, if you were a white woman who dated a black man, you were gonna burn in hell. Masturbation, all that stuff. Like, those were just to get you to. It all turned out to be bullshit. And somewhere in Colorado right now, there's an interracial gay couple smoking weed, about to get weird, and they're the happiest people on the planet.
And they recycle.
You know it. And
That's true.
Right? It's all bullshit. You got lied to. You were told these conservative things just to test you and to make you follow their It's almost like high school, right? Religion was like high school. In high school, they reward the kids who follow the rules. Mm-hmm. And if you don't follow the rules, you're thrown in the principal's office, you're doing detention, and if you don't assimilate, they pound the shit out of you.
So true.
I mean, I think both conservatives and liberals get a lot of stuff wrong, and I think that's kind of why they keep us divided that way. But what conservatism was supposed to be about is smaller government, and I support that. But the problem is that whenever we get a conservative in office, we never get smaller government. It's always bigger and more. And trickle-down economics, of course, is a part of that. It's like, well, just give the money to the rich people, and it's gonna get down to you. No, they just get bigger, fatter bank accounts.
If you wait tables, you'll know fucking rich people don't do trickle down. No. They tip like shit,
But the issue that conservatives have with liberals is that liberals support the nanny state stuff, the expanse of government, the globalism, and I do agree with that to a degree. To a degree,
but conservatives love socialism when it comes to the police force, the military, the fire department, and all that stuff. And there was this comic who's very funny, put out since 1960. The government has spent $3.5 trillion on social, welfare system projects. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah. And since 2001, the Pentagon has either, spent or, quote, air quotes, lost $13.5 trillion. That's socialism in a different way. And it's, what I'm saying? Yeah.
If we're going to spend money on anything, it should be making people's lives better. I mean, who can argue with that?
I'm in recovery, dude, and I go to a lot, and we're going to get back to the afterlife. I'm in recovery, and I listen to some people's stories of where they come from and how some people are born into a world of shit.
Yeah.
A world of shit, man. And it's like, sometimes you need just a little help to stabilize what's going on around you. Because when you fall and there's nobody to grab you, you don't have a family, you don't have anything like that, man, you might just keep falling. And sometimes you just need a little bit of help. Now, these people who get bored, like in Europe, I saw that they're now doing something where it's like you only get so much special, welfare for so many children. It's like 2 children, they cap it. Anything over that, now you're breaking it up between 3 kids, 4 kids, 5 kids, whatever it is. Maybe that's what we need to do. But I also
that's not so bad.
Yeah, right. I'm like, nobody wants where nobody works. Nobody wants that. And I think most people would want to work an honest job where they can feel respected about themselves and get it done. But it's like people love socialism. The bailouts of all these companies, in the stock market crash, in which they're already planning on getting another bailout. They actually have the bailouts kind of budgeted into their budgets.
Yes.
That's socialism.
That's a scary thing right now. We're dealing with the funding of the government. I mean, this is going to be a serious thing, I think, in the next couple of weeks.
100%, dude. 100%. So back to heaven. I have my heaven, and this is how I see heaven playing. I think God is a black British lesbian. I think that is the highest, purest form of humanity. And she DJs. She DJs, okay? And she's got the best Coke in the world. It is just pure Coke. You can't feel anything. You don't get Coke dick. And everybody just fucks. I'm sorry, this is one of the dirtier podcasts we've done. But everyone just bones. And if a girl gets pregnant, an angel gets its wings. That's what I believe heaven is about. Do you guys have any of your heavens?
Well, I like the idea of that for sure. I mean, but I guess my thing would be a lot of that is physical based. Like without a body, it's hard to bang. Without a body, it's hard to snort coke. And that's one of the things that on one of my drug experiences that was pretty out there. I spoke to an entity and I said, well, this seems pretty sick. So why even have life? And that's exactly what I was told is like, well, how would you know what chocolate tasted like? How would you know what it felt like to fuck? I mean, that's why spirits come to this material plane to manifest, is to have a physical experience, because it is different than what's over on their side, which is without anything physical. So it's really hard you got to think of it like just a giant cloud of consciousness, and you're in there, but you're still yourself. It's a weird thing. At least that's my impression.
Yeah. Well, Ryan, do you have a heaven?
It'd be a swimming pool of LSD.
And you just jump in and you just trip forever?
You just disintegrate you just meld into the net of Endra, and meanwhile you just,
I met a stripper who did acid for 90 days straight.
Jesus.
Okay, I'm not a sports fan. Sorry, Sam. But Phil Jackson, in his autobiography, he did LSD for 30 days straight. And the timeline from that, he said he understood basketball completely. And he started winning championships with the Bulls. That's his team, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then the Lakers as well. So, I mean...
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, as a sober guy, I really wrestle with the fact that I can't do psychedelics. And I'm trying to find some fine print in which I could work it. So I can find, I'm not really doing it to escape. I'm doing it more for knowledge. So I
absolutely think you can find that space, man. I mean, drugs are so different. There's party drugs, and then there are tools to expand your consciousness and to really prepare you for death. I actually think the Tibetan Book of the Dead, that's what it is a book to train you for the afterlife, to make you prepared for that moment so you're not so distracted by this or that, and you actually know what to do, because I think spirits can get lost and the process can go wrong. And that's what that book was there to teach us. I also think that's what psychedelics teach us. And I think that's why they're illegal.
Yeah.
They're illegal for a lot of reasons. But if the elite are in like some type of connection or serving the archons or demons at the top of the pyramid, this would be the number one thing they would say is like, well, you need to keep everything that teaches people about death, get it the fuck out of here. We want them to be completely discombobulated and off their guard when they die.
Yeah.
So as the hierarchy of psychedelic psychonauts that are still living, I think we'd say Dennis McKenna's up there. Then next would either be Alex Gray, maybe tied for second would be Duncan Trussell. And I immediately think of you, Greg, and I know you've had your experiences. In psychedelic state, you have ego death. I know I've experienced that in the past, no longer. Mm-hmm. But yes, you get to a place, you get to a 0 point field where you understand. It's like that monkey that puts his hand into the cage and he can't bring back the food until he lets go. That's a psychedelic trip. You're the whole time you're like, oh yeah, I just got to remember. And then you come down, you're like, what the fuck was I supposed to remember?
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, I think so.
And those experiences aren't addictive the way Coke or ecstasy is addictive. God damn, those things are euphoric and they feel great and it's amazing to party with them. And alcohol, it's never been my thing, but I get it. I mean, it's the only thing you can do communally. Of course, people are going to love to drink. But when you get into the realm of LSD, mushrooms, I do not think that it's something you're going to get hooked on in any kind of significant way. I mean, you know, but that's just what I'm saying. I think you need that. I think you need that.
Well, within the getting sober community, you know, there's always a battle between prescription medication that you need to take to, you know, because you balances your chemicals in your brain and all that stuff versus, you know, the pharmaceutical drugs in which help you to escape. And that's kind of really what it is. If you're taking it to escape, that's when it's a problem. If you're taking it because you need it to balance you out or expand your mind, that might be something new. I'm not going to sit here and tell anybody who's in sobriety to go out and do shrooms and it's okay. That's a personal discussion for you. That hopefully, you know, I don't think it leads to anything else. I don't think you do shrooms and now you're like hooked on doing shrooms and next thing you know, you're blowing strangers in LEs for fucking shroom money. You know, that's not really a thing. But, you know, that's a question each person has to think. Please stay sober if it's made your life better. But if you want to figure it out, figure it out. So there's heaven, there's hell. I think some people think hell is on. You know, we're in hell right now. Some people think this is hell. I don't necessarily think. I think it can get worse. I kind of have a joke right now that I'm doing that's going pretty well about how, according to the Westboro Baptist Church, everybody's going to hell. If you saw their list of people, and I'm just like, it's going to be so white in hell. There's so many white people going to hell. We're going to gentrify hell. That's what we're going to do. Aaron, it's going to look like Portland down there. It's going to look like Portland. We're going to have vegan strip bars and feminist tattoo parlors and nothing but Comic-Con everywhere, you know?
A lot of food trucks, yep.
What would your hell be, Ryan?
Well, honestly, it'd be like Syria.
Yeah.
Hell exists. Like in Liberia right now, they're eating people. And not because they want to, it's because they got to stay alive, you know?
It's unbelievable.
Just depending on where you're at on this planet right now, the apocalypse has already started. You know, we get our news feed that it's like down the road, but
it's here. It just hasn't knocked on our door.
Okay, you're in Syria, and there's robots that come from the sky and drop hellfire missiles on you, on your head, and you like, that's Terminator 1. That's the opening scene. He steps on the skull.
Terminator 1 opening scene for sure, dude.
That's exactly what it is. I mean, it's all perspective.
And to say that this is hell, overall, I mean, of course, there's some bad stuff going on in the Middle East. No one wants to be there. But to say that the earth itself, the material plane is a hell, I think is a little strong. But if you know much about the Gnostic belief system, which is, they started out as Jewish and Christian heresies, people who basically twisted the religious text to look at it from different ways. And they came to the conclusion, they thought, you know what, maybe God isn't so good and we shouldn't be worshiping him. Maybe that this isn't the Garden of Eden. Maybe this is some type of illusion, that the physical world is some kind of prison planet and that the goal is to raise above it, to enlighten yourselves above it. And I really think there might be some merit to that. That's where the idea of archons comes from. They say, well, the being that made the earth in the material realm, he isn't the one true God. He's just one of many, and he's actually pretty low on the totem pole. And he's egotistical, and he just wants people to be in servitude to him.
Are you telling me that the God who created us could be the equivalent of a TSA agent who just busts your balls all the time and is a real asshole and is just like has a little bit of power and has an ego about it? Is that what you're saying?
According to the Gnostics, they looked at the religions of their day and the leaders and the actions of the churches, and they thought, this isn't good. These aren't the people I would want to be following. So they flipped it, and they thought maybe the snake in the Garden of Eden, Lucifer, the light bringer, the one who illuminates man, Prometheus, who gives man the fire, these are the entities that in all of mythology are punished severely for teaching man information, for enlightening man. So the gods don't want us to be smart. And you have these archetypes in the biblical scriptures.
You were talking about that, Ryan.
Yeah, right. This is a little prelude to coming up episode.
Yeah, that's insane.
So I think there might be some there. And if we want to tie in a lot of things in the conspiracy soup, there are theories that this is some type of human energy farm, that the elite in concert with archons are just milking our energy like batteries, Matrix style. I mean, the Matrix is a modern representation of the Gnostic belief system. That movie, that's exactly, they lifted it all from Gnosticism. And that, that the material world is an illusion, that there's a real world outside of it that no one knows about. And you need to wake up to.
Is this the assimilation theory?
It could go into that realm. The thing I was going to throw in is that some people think that the experiences that people have with the Greys, with aliens, that you could take this back to the ancient alien theory that we were engineered by other intelligent beings the same way we're engineering consciousness and machines today. They engineered us, and they've been basically letting us cycle through in some kind of death trap for a long time. That's why psychedelics might be valuable, and that's what the Tibetan Book of the Dead actually says. There's a line in it where it says, "Do not be enticed by the soft light of the gods. It is an obstacle to liberation. The goal of the bardo is to achieve enlightenment, not to pursue the pleasures of the gods. If you fail the test, you face their alter ego, the wrathful deities." So you might want to stay sober in this life, but it might not hurt you to take LSD and mushrooms a few times
respect that.
Just to get your floaties on and your training wheels for that spiritual world, because you don't want to end up stuck in a wall somewhere for all eternity.
Oh, God damn it, Greg. Listen. I don't want to be in a wall, Aaron. I got to do shrooms. Listen, Ryan, so let's get into the Book of the Dead, man. I'm really excited about that. And then we got about 20 minutes left. I want you to give some recommendations on heresy. Is that what you were just talking? Gnosticism?
Me? Yeah, Gnosticism.
Yeah, okay. At the end, I'd love you to talk about a couple books maybe people could read on that, because, man, I'm very interested in that stuff. But, Ryan, you love the Book of the Dead you were kind of talking about, and you had done some shrooms and had an experience. Am I right? Or some acid?
Yeah, I've had something like that. It was, I had recently finished reading the book, and I actually was getting my cancer tumor cut out of me. And they're like, "Oh, do you get weird around needles?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm cool." And then I passed out. And when I opened my eyes, I was in this like giant expansive field of lotus flowers.
Really?
And I just hear this, and I was like, "Oh, fuck. I'm in the first, I know what I'm supposed to do." And I see sitting on a lotus flower.
What?
An energy being. I know it sounds like a kook right now, but I see this energy.
You're on
being.
tinfoil hat.
Yeah,
You're normal.
Yeah, there you go. Just tighten it on. And I'm like, what? I know what I'm supposed to do. Because the whole concept is to get out of the cycle of rebirth. So you see your Buddha self. You're trying to get the Buddha's attention, whatnot. I just went to go sit down on one of the lotus flowers that was right by him. I go to sit down, and it's like, whoa, and then bam, I was back in the room, flop sweat dripping, like these angry nurses in my face, like, "You said you were cool with needles." I was like, "Whoa, man." They're like, "Where'd you go?" Because I was mumbling. And I was like, "You wouldn't believe me if I told you."
Really?
So that's what, and I know it's all subconscious. I just finished reading it. It was in the back of my brain, but ever since that day, colors have never been bright again. Like as bright as they were going into it. Yeah.
Wow.
Holy shit.
Everything got turned down like a little grayer in my life, which isn't bad. My life's fucking amazing, but hey, it's one of those things. I had a trippy psychedelic experience with no psychedelics in me, and that's the goal, really. I mean, you do enough psychedelics in your life, you want to experience it, like they say in Kundalini or through meditation or being in sacred chambers and stuff like that, actually getting to a state without any chemicals, because we're capable of it. Dimethyltryptamine is in our brain. That's what DMT is. And we can tap into it. It's released in our deep REM sleep. It's released, dumped into our body right before we die. They've done studies, and they think it's a way for us to pass through into the next realm in a more fluid manner. So,
yeah, they teach you a lot of bullshit in those years of school, but they never make it to meditation or any of those real tools that could help a person out.
Why is that so interesting? So let's get into this Book of the Dead. The three bardos, is that what it's called?
Yeah, Greg, I know that you're well versed in this. Give us a little breakdown. So for someone that has no idea, and this is the first time they're hearing it, where would you start?
Well, from what I know, which is not as much as a lot of other people, but it was written around the 8th century, but nobody really knows how old those traditions are. I always say that about these old texts we get, like the Nag Hammadi texts and these things. You don't know how long the oral tradition goes. This is just when it was written down and you found it. I mean, who knows what edition of the book that is anyway. But the reason we know about it in the West is there was a European folklorist in the early 1900s who heard about it, traveled there, read it, translated it, and brought it over here. And it was Timothy Leary who really made it popular again in the 60s because he said that it is a perfect primer for LSD. You know, for people who couldn't understand what that experience is like, because if you haven't been to the spirit world, it's trying to explain green to a blind man. How do you explain the color green to a blind man? You can't do that shit. So he found this book and he was like, check this out. This will get you about as close as you can get without actually taking the compounds. And that's what it's all about, is training for the afterlife. It teaches you about the out-of-body experience, what you're going to see. It talks about that red light or that white light. It talks about meeting those entities, but it also says that it can be a type of trap that you really have to keep from getting mesmerized by the the bright colors and all the just the sensations around. You have to actually progress through some type of Bardo system, some type of levels to actually get to your next life, or you can become trapped. And who knows what ghosts really are? I mean, people who have haunted houses or something like that, I mean, maybe there are souls who are just lost, who never found their way, and they will spend eternity stuck in a wall.
Oh man, I believe that there's a reabsorption of the soul, and it could still fit into this. That as you pass away, your soul gets reabsorbed. Now they tend to find that these ghosts are associated with violent deaths. Like there's always like, oh, they died, they got murdered here, this. Yeah. There's my thought is that maybe there's a transfer. There's a problem with the transfer as your body gets, starts to get reabsorbed, your energy gets reabsorbed, a violent act kind of knocks it off, and now it's in neither world.
Limbo.
It's in limbo, right? It's in either. So I always think that's so. I totally believe in ghosts, man. I've seen it at the Comedy Store.
Oh, fuck.
I've seen shit at the store, dude.
I've heard the store has a rich history and a lot of lore around that kind of thing. Do you know any particular good stories about ghosts that might be at the store?
I mean, if you talk to Freddie Lockhart, he says that he actually saw chairs being thrown. Wow. Nobody's there and chairs were thrown. Jeff Scott has a video where he shows him in the belly room, recording the belly room with his iPhone, and you can see white light orbs just all over, just flying through the room.
You know why they call it the belly room?
Why?
Back in the day, they used to perform illegal abortions at what is now the Comedy Store.
Are you serious?
Yeah. What the fuck?
Did you just drop a bomb on us?
Or drop my goddamn headphones on that one.
Or perpetuating some lore that was told to me.
Dude, I think there was some evil shit at that Comedy Store at some point, and I feel like now something happened to it, and its energy is totally different. And it's in a really good place right now. Now, personally, I was in the main room, green room, which is the back of the main room, and I was getting ready to go up, and I was doing my set, and in the back room, there is a shower. There's a whole bathroom with shower, sink, everything, where in case, I don't know, apparently people used to shower after their shows. I think it was probably back when they had like a lot of dancers there. They could shower after their shows way back in the old vaudeville days there. So I'm just hanging out writing, and all of a sudden I hear the shower, what's the word I'm looking for?
The little handle.
Yeah, the shower handle just start to turn, and the water started running. Run, boom. I was like, oh, man, somebody's here. And then the second time was I saw something it was in the main room, and Jeffrey Ross, this was early on in the roast battles. He's sitting with all the roast battle writers, and he was they were having something, and I remember walking by and going, hey, guys. I walk back out to the OR. I run to the Rite Aid near there. It's 2 blocks down. It took me 5 minutes, ran back. They were all sitting there writing, right? So I go back in the room, and now the lobby. When I left the first time, the lobby of the main room was completely lit, and when I came back, it was black. And I go, did somebody go in there and turn it off? Did anyone come by? They go, no, nobody's come by. So I go into the darkness, and I'm starting to freak out. And there's one sliver of light against the wall. That there's no light source for that sliver of light. It would have to be reflected from the street light all the way down the main room hall, off something, and then hit that. I don't know how that light is there.
What the fuck?
And then I look at the light, and I just see an image pass right in front of the light. And I go, I'm out!
Yeah, no, thank you.
Damn.
So let's get, yeah. So let's get in this first bardo. What is the first bardo, guys?
I think that's just the white light. That's the straight up tunnel of light that is talked about so often. I think a lot of doctors and surgeons have even described that when people die during surgery and come back, that's the first thing they say they saw. And
Skippy Simon said that. Friend of mine, Skippy Simon, died in the military. And he said all he saw was a white light. And he went to the white light, and then he woke up.
Yeah.
Some say it might be a regressed memory from your childbirth, because as you come out of the birth canal, your eyes open, the first thing you see is just bright light, and then that's even some of the alien abduction theories, that there's like guys with masks on, they look giant, and they're doing things to you, sticking a thermometer up your butt. These are all regressed. I've heard these. I mean, here on Tinfoil, I don't believe anything, but I don't disbelieve anything. I'm open.
Right.
You know what I mean? You got to stay open. Like the moment you throw your hat into one thing, we're talking about trans-dimensional pedophiles that are coming to.
Our whole saying here is, I don't know, man. Maybe.
Fuck, man.
Maybe.
Well, here's something that's kind of interesting. So we have this Tibetan Book of the Dead, and a lot of people talk about where was Jesus during those missing years in his biography. In the Bible, he is gone for most of his 20s, I believe, and even till
comes
up until
back
32.
at 32.
Right. So a lot of people are wondering what was Jesus doing, and there's a lot of speculation that he traveled to Tibet, that he traveled to Egypt and these places where he got initiated into these mystery traditions, that he was a shaman of sorts, that he was like a Terence McKenna of his day, teaching people that, God is in you, that, you are connected to the universe already, and that you can do these things that will get you there. And of course, the Holy Roman Empire wrote and rewrote all those gospels long time later. We all know that, right? That the Bible is a collection of things that serve the masters who decided to craft it.
Right.
Well,
it was made by guys who believed in Ra, the sun god.
Well, check this out. So I just interviewed this guy, Silva was his last name, and Freddie Silva, and he has a great book called The Resurrection Ritual, which gets into the idea that because Jesus was going around getting initiated in all these things, the story has been twisted, that he died and was, quote, resurrected, that he's the Son of God. That's where the whole story makes no sense. But where it does make sense is if you get into this resurrection ritual they were doing, they had ways to keep people on the astral plane for a long time with psychedelics and other things. Wow. And Jesus was in the tomb doing the ritual for 3 days, and then he came out. So he was on the spirit plane, but he wasn't dead. So this is kind of what I think that story is twisting, is that it's hiding what is really magic, because the Holy Roman Empire, the Inquisition, the conquistadors, the witch hunts, the burning down of the Library of Alexandria, all this stuff, all of Western expansion has been to wipe out magic. And magic is very much about interacting with the spirit plane. I know people who are practicing occultists who talk to spirits on a daily basis.
Really?
I haven't gotten there. I've been trying some rituals. I've got an altar set up because I'm a person who wants to test it. I'm not going to say it's bullshit. I still feel silly doing it, but there will be a time apparently where I'll get some kind of breakthrough and I won't feel so silly about it anymore. But there's people I trust, intelligent people who would not spend their time on this if they weren't getting results. So I trust their results. But I do think the authority has been trying to keep us away from the spirit world forever. That's how you control the lives of man. If man knows that life is an illusion and that it's a cycle and that your true nature is consciousness, how do you really enslave a nation? How do you really get people to fear death? Because if they know what it is, if they go to the astral plane regularly through ritual, you can't really control people.
So true.
So it's all about keeping people in the material world. That's why I believe that Gnostic idea that the world is an illusion. And it's a very persistent one if you keep people here, keep people entrapped in it. Worlds within worlds, people sitting here in an illusion, watching TV, playing video games, illusions within illusions. And now VR's coming out. It's nuts, man. But I really do think if you unpeel the onion, the truth is that we are consciousness first. And then if you keep that in mind, you can have the tenacity of a guy like Gandhi or some of these shamans or these monks who burn themselves in this town square because they don't like what's going on, because they know that their true nature is consciousness. And that's the number one thing they don't want us to know.
So, wow, this is awesome. The final for the third, Bardo, is a bunch of different worlds, right?
It just depends. Like, so Tibetan Buddhism, they believes that you have the chance to reincarnate into 6 possible different experiences or realms, as they call it. And we're in the human realm. And this is one of the 3. There's 3 good and 3 bad. We're in the human realm, and this is the only realm where you can achieve enlightenment and break the cycle of reincarnation.
In this realm.
In this realm. Being a human, much like in Western Christianity, you have freedom of like choice. You have free will. And so this is the place where you're able to accumulate karma, which basically means action or deed. You can do good deeds, bad deeds. You can do dirty deeds if you're AC/DC, but
dirt cheap.
Exactly. So this is the realm that depicts whether you get broken out of that cycle. And the other 2 good ones is the realm of the Asuras, which is like a Titan form. They're like, they're like half gods. But the thing is, it's all metaphorical. All Eastern cultures are speaking in metaphors because this is a way to live your life. Like when you're a dick and a douche to people and all you're trying to do is get yours, then guess what? You're going to come back. You're going to come back to this realm until you figured your shit out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, land yourself square in Syria.
Yeah.
And the next life.
So what are the different worlds? You have the just list through and a brief description of it because we've got to wrap it up here.
Yeah,
but this is interesting. I love this.
No doubt. The third and final good one is the realm of heavenly beings, and it's populated with godlike people that have great power, wealth, and real long life, but they eventually die too. But the thing is, they don't have compassion, and they don't have the ability for wisdom. And they're blind to the suffering of others. So these are like the powerful people that we think of.
These are the deep state people.
Yeah, exactly. And so by that, they're going to reincarnate into most likely either, if you're lucky, the human realm, but then there's the 3 evil or bad karma experiences, which is the realm of animals, which is you literally be turned into an animal because you're complacent, you live like a prejudiced life, you're sheltered, you're avoiding any sort of discomfort. And these are people who are ignorant and just content with being ignorant. And then you come back and you get to be like a cow led to the slaughter because, this is all in the theory of Tibetan Buddhism.
Yeah.
And the other realm is this very super interesting concept. It's called the realm of the hungry ghosts. And in my mind, it's Vegas. These hungry ghosts have big bellies. They have pinholes for mouths and tiny, tiny, thin necks. Because they have like an appetite that can never be filled. They have a thirst that could never be quenched. They like breathe fire because they're never getting liquid. So it's Vegas. It's sex. It's nonstop partying. It's money. It's gluttony. But you're never filled. There's never a time where you're in Vegas where I've had enough. It's time. It's like I gotta get the fuck out of here, or I think I've become like one of the donkeys from Pinocchio.
Yeah, and
you
then
know?
you leave and you get Vegas AIDS. You ever had Vegas AIDS where you're just like, oh, I think I'm sick. I'm Vegas sick. Aaron, you ever get Vegas AIDS when you go to Vegas?
Can't say that I do.
You've never had Vegas AIDS. You feel like $1 million as soon as you leave Vegas.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
No, you're Aaron. God damn it, Aaron.
I'm very familiar with those Vegas AIDS.
You're right. You're like, oh, I'm so sick. I was in Vegas. You got that Vegas AIDS, homeboy. Thoughts on the third Bardo, Greg?
Well, I guess the way I've heard them described is a little different than the way they're being described. But
let's hear it.
Well, I heard that the third one really was just that moment where where you're in the process of choosing your next life, that your time in the spirit world is winding down, and that's when you're making that choice. And apparently you meet or you see your actual parents, and then you hop on down at the moment of conception.
Oh, that's what you were talking about, that you go to a room, right?
So yeah, you die, you get into an area, you try to get the Buddha's attention. That's you not acknowledging your Buddha self. If you get angry, you get frustrated, you're filled with fear, you're chased by monsters, quote unquote. It's all metaphorical.
And who are these monsters?
It's all the shit that you haven't dealt with in your past life. All the accumulation of all your negativity and all the bullshit that you've like dished out on other people, it's coming back tenfold. So you get chased into the next, you're running from them, and you come into a big expanse of land where there's nothing but couples just fucking getting down.
Mm-hmm.
And to escape all this anger and the fear and everything that you're afraid of dealing with, you then dive into one of the couples banging, and you get reincarnated. That's how you choose your mother or father.
So basically, you choose who your parents are by their hump style?
Yeah, I mean, if
You're like, oh man, that couple's really going at it. She's a freak, and jump in.
I hate to break it to you, Sam, but you probably bone just like your dad.
Yeah, really?
Or your dad bones exactly like you. I'm not too sure which one.
Oh, that is so interesting, dude. That is so trippy interesting.
I mean,
And that's that one perspective. A lot of people say you see a light in a tunnel, but no one really knows if it's good or not. Because I've talked to people who think it's actually part of the trap, and that it's the gray aliens who stay out in the shadows that treat the earth like a human slaughterhouse. That we are just sitting around in our little cubicles in our homes thinking life is great, like idiot cows in a slaughterhouse who don't realize why they're really there. They're there to provide food. And so when we die, they also have a consciousness trap that throws us right back into another body unless you can somehow manage to escape that cycle. So who knows if it's good or bad, but it's interesting.
It is interesting, man. I got to be honest with both of you guys. I've done a lot of podcasting. This is by far the most interesting episode I've ever done in podcasting. I'm being dead serious. I've had more fun on this podcast than I think I've had on almost any podcast.
Well, death affects everybody, and no one knows. So everyone's curious.
So interesting, dude. This is so interesting. So, Greg, do you have any recommendations for our listeners who might want to read up on some of the stuff we've talked about?
Well, if you're interested in the Gnostic perspective, Gnostic means gnosis, and gnosis means knowing. So this is all about knowing the reality that you're really in, the true framework, whether it's the spirit world or the illusionary material reality. And I learned most of what I know about Gnosticism from my favorite wizard, captain of the Chaos Quidditch team from Down Under, Gordon White. He runs runesoup.com. He writes a lot of great pieces about magic, and Gnosticism has had a huge influence on him. There's another guy, Miguel Connor, who runs the Aeon Bite podcast. It's all about Gnosticism, and he compiled a lot of his interviews in 2 books, Voices of Gnosticism and Other Voices of Gnosticism, and I doubt there would be anything better than those compilations. And then, of course, if you want to hear about the Jesus resurrection ritual stuff, Freddie Silva's book, The Resurrection Ritual, it's pretty compelling.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to check out
Oh, yeah.
all that stuff.
I know you and Gordon are buddies, and he's actually one of the only Australians that I enjoy. So that is saying a lot.
Why don't you like Australians? They're wonderful.
I mean, they're just
Their
like
women are gorgeous.
oh, we play some footy. It's like,
Okay,
yeah.
you don't like soccer.
Yeah, I'm
you don't
good.
like soccer.
But
Well, he left as soon as he could and moved to London. So now he's back, but he got out of there as soon as he could. So I think he would probably
love
take that as a
Australia.
badge of honor.
Well, hey, we got to get you in the studio sometime. We'll Skype in Gordon, and 'cause
Hell
I know
yeah.
you guys
I would
have-
love that, dude. Greg, I every time we talk, I thoroughly enjoy talking with you. You're just a walking book of knowledge, and I really appreciate you coming on and making this episode so awesome. Everybody knows you are. My friend Melissa McQueen was talking. She's a big conspiracy theorist. She doesn't want me to say it, but I'm going to. I'm trying to get people to be like, dude, if you believe in stuff, say it, man.
Come out of the
woodwork.
closet.
Come out, man. You gotta say it. I get it. She just doesn't want to get in fights with people. I'll bang all day long, homeboy. But she said says she's, we talk conspiracies before, and she started listening to Tinfoil Hat, and through Tinfoil Hat, she started listening to your podcast. She loves your podcast. So, I appreciate you coming on my show, man. It's always a pleasure talking to you, and hopefully we'll hook up sooner than later, my friend. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much for having me. I love the comedy world, and just to be able to tiptoe into it is great. Of course, I forget more than I remember, but you interview all these people, you got to let something stick.
You're doing great, dude. And you guys who love Tinfoil Hat and love Higher Side Chats, Greg and I are working on a couple projects together, and hopefully we'll have one going sooner than later that we think you guys will really love. So, Greg, thanks for tuning in, man. I know you got life stuff to take care of, and we appreciate you coming on Tinfoil Hat. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Hell yeah. Peace, guys.
Take care, buddy. You're the best. Greg. Bye. Good podcast, Aaron. Thoughts? Judeo-Christian man. Thoughts?
I'm an atheist.
Hey, so you don't even believe in any of that?
No.
You just believe we just go into, we just become worm meat?
Yeah,
Where's your 21 grams going, homeboy?
That might just be all the oxygen in your body letting go.
Oh, God
The
damn
21
it.
grams of oxygen.
Well, dogs don't have the same. I mean, well, no, you said dogs don't have it. Well, dude.
Well, they're smaller, so they have less. So it's negligible.
God damn.
It's just
What's
the
it like
cheese
to be
and the
so
crust.
cold? What's it like to be so cold? Open your mind, man. I'm giving you knowledge. Drink, dude. God damn, I was moved by this episode, and you're just sitting there thinking about what kind of toppings you're going to get on your fucking pizza, man.
Yeah.
God. Just...
We'll get them Monday.
We'll get it Monday. Monday's going to be a great show. We were supposed to do it this Monday, but life happens. We couldn't do it. So next Monday, what are we talking? We got Steve Lee from what's his band?
Oh, we got Stevie Weeby.
Weeby.
The famous Steve Lee. Check him out on his YouTube page. But his band is called Mungchi.
Oh, go check out Mungchi. It is fucking amazing.
It's Korean for hammer.
Ryan, this is the most you've talked in an episode, and you were excellent. I can't encourage it enough. Please talk more. You make my job better, and you're knowledgeable, so I appreciate all the hard work you do, buddy. You're the man. I appreciate you being on the show. Aaron, thanks for listening and not listening at the same time.
Anytime.
Okay. Guys, this is Tinfoil Hat. Thank you. Hey, guys, on the YouTube channel, check out youtube.com/Sam Tripoli. Comment, man. Let me know. Go on iTunes. Comment. If you love Tinfoil Hat, give us 5 stars. Comment about it. And we have a Twitter account in which I'm putting up all the conspiracy theory stuff that I learned through the week and I talk about on my YouTube channel. It's Tinfoil Hat Pod, and it's at Tinfoil Hat Pod. Follow us. Love us. We love you. I appreciate the support. Your feedback, positive, negative, whatever it is totally appreciated. But it's 99% positive. Greatly appreciated. And we'll see you next Monday, guys. Take care. Bye.